I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'd like to call this meeting of the Town of Plattsburgh Town Board to order for June 16th, 2014. Roll call, please.
Bernie Bassett.
Here.
Thomas Wood.
Here.
Martin Manick.
Here.
Michael Cashman.
Here.
Rod Renderdeck.
Here.
James Coffey.
Here.
Rick Collins.
Resolution 200, approving the minutes of the previous meeting.
Resolved that the minutes of June 2nd and June 9th, 2014 be approved and the reading of the minutes be dispensed with.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Rod Renderdeck.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the resolution carries. We do have a public hearing. We're not quite at 7:05, so I'll move us along a little bit farther to resolution 201, abstract.
Resolved that the abstract amount of the claims number 6B-14, 1007 to 1112 for $222,343.90, and abstract 6B-14, 214 to 218 prepays in the amount of $270,614.74 be received as reviewed by the audit committee, and the supervisor is hereby authorized to pay said.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Rennerdeck, second.
Second.
Mr. Cashman, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Rod Renderdeck.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 202, Codes and Zoning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Stephen Iamhoff, Code Enforcement Officer for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second. Mr. Wood, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Rod Renderdeck.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 203, Highway Superintendent's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from James Wood, Superintendent of Highways for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? I'm sure you noticed the ongoing stream of notes concerning roadside sweeping continuing. I think Mr. Woods indicated they were about a month behind due to the rains every week. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Rod Renderdeck.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. It's time to open our public hearing. This evening, we have a public hearing concerning local law to address peddling, soliciting, and transit retail merchants. This is local law number 2 of 2014. Can I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Mr. Rennerdeck, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion? I have a roll call.
Thomas Wood.
Yes.
Martin Manick.
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Rod Renderdeck.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, the hearing is open. First of all, is there anyone who has written comments to submit? And secondly, is there anyone who would like to make comment? If so, we ask you to state your name and address.
John, St. Germain, Katy, New York. I just had a couple of questions. One is, how would the firemen be treated for their raffle tickets that they sell throughout the year? Are they charitable organization and an exception from the, do they fall in the?
If there isn't an exception in there, John duly noted, will make sure that certainly is not the intent. I don't consider them peddlers in the purest definition of the word. And there are definitions such as well, I won't read it, you've seen the law. I don't believe there's anything there, but we'll check on that to make sure they're not.
Okay. And now all your vendors at the fair, they're not gonna be,
They're part of the fair, totally different
it's a
situation.
whole,
Yep.
they're exempt.
Yep.
And how about political parties when they go out?
That's another story.
So, you know, they sell tickets or what have you for,
That's not peddling, really. Those activities wouldn't fall into that definition. There are a variety of 50-50 chances, raffles that are really would fall, I don't want to take the counselor's breath away, but under a totally different set of laws as opposed to the peddler who comes into town selling wares that could otherwise be purchased in a business that's permanently located here.
I see. And what about your vegetable stand?
You know, Jan, I was hoping I was going to contribute one that you hadn't thought of. I was holding my breath. Yes, we discussed that before we came out here. Actually, Ricky brought it to my attention during the week. We're very concerned, and we would amend the existing law to include an exemption for agricultural products and produce. We certainly don't want to interfere with, you know, the fruit and vegetable stands, et cetera. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
On page 4, exception to license requirements.
Yeah,
Does E cover the fire department?
I think it does, but you know what it has on here, I just noticed that any of those, it says persons soliciting and collecting or operating a sale on behalf of any bona fide charitable, educational, scientific, health, religious, patriotic, or other organization of worthy cause deemed to be in the public interest. No sale falling under the auspices of this paragraph shall exceed 3 calendar days in a year. I think that needs to be changed. The 3 days in a year. I mean, are we going to tell the fire department that they fall under the exemption category, but they can only do it for 3 days in a calendar year?
We're gonna send you down to the Legion. You can extend that.
Good luck with that.
Same with the children when they sell their candy bars,
Girl
you know,
Scout
from
cookies,
school
yeah.
and so on and so
Well,
on.
I think
Track of Girl Scout cookies.
the other thing you have to take into
Exactly.
account is, in any law, you have to rely to some degree that the judge will have some thought. I mean, and that's why we have judges. I mean, that's why that it's not a robotic situation. You have something, and somebody said, yeah, I don't think that. So I don't think we're waiting to pounce on, you know, any particular group here that, you know, I mean, we're not saying, let's get these Girl Scouts this time, you know, we'll teach them a lesson.
Good idea.
I just bought a candy bar for a kid to go to scientific convention.
Well, I know.
I've only got 2 more days now.
Yeah, I don't think there's gonna be any peddler police, so to speak, so.
There probably is no strong reason to even leave that sentence in there because the organizations noted and implied by section E would not be able to do what they do in a 3-day sequence. So I would just say, take the sentence right out.
What, you're talking about?
The 3-day last sentence of section E, just take it out. Because as that references the health, religious, patriotic, etc., they're
I
going to
think
be
the
more
next
than 3
question to
days.
Jim would be, does that constitute a significant change?
I don't think so, no.
Well, I would assume something taken out wouldn't constitute.
Well, I mean, you could always argue that, yeah, I know, I just,
And the other item then, we might add to section D, under exemptions, that such that it would read new, the sale of Christmas trees, comma, decorations, and agricultural products and produce. So we take the word
Is
and
that where
out
you're gonna put it?
and add and agricultural products and produce. I think that's the best spot, Tom, is, you know, rather than just add another item, we just extend.
Are we gonna make a distinction between people who, people who market produce, who grow produce in the area and market their produce in the area, and people who might, for whatever reason, come into the area to sell produce?
It's a good question.
I don't really think you can. If we're gonna say John Jones can sell strawberries, then I don't think we'd say Pete Wilson from, say, the other town, he can't sell strawberries, so.
The model that came to mind when I looked at this one was, it seems every year down on 22B, where the Dorrance Trucking used to be, there was always a gentleman who would park his pickup truck, drop the tailgate, and he'd sell bags of potatoes for $7.
Yeah.
I mean, for him to pay a $100 fee is absolutely ludicrous, and for that man, those bags that he does sell are a good deal, and for the homeowner that picks them up and brings them home, it's a pretty good deal too. But they would be peddlers because they're competing with a business in the town that, you know, formally earns their keep by that. Praise wouldn't be peddlers, that's their business. Yeah. And I think, as Jim said, number one, someone has to decide there's a violation such that it needs to be cited and we need to act on it. That's where.
Well, it's not like zoning or anything, you hope people have some judgment. Or like state police, they don't, you know, if somebody's going down the Northway at 66 miles an hour, they don't get picked up. They just don't. There's a.
Unless the manner in which they're doing that 66 draws attention.
Right.
Holding the cell phone to their ear.
Yeah, that would.
Texting.
Does, Mr. St. Germain's comments really led us into the agricultural produce, fruits, vegetables, and so on. Does anyone have any other concerns
And
on the board?
some of the examples that were brought up by Mr. St. Germain, that are, those are illegal sales, okay? Now, do they get prosecuted? No. But, you know, they sell the ticket, then, you know, you look at the lotto number every day, and that tells you whether or not you won on your ticket. I mean, I'm aware of those kinds of sales that go on in various political parties or, you know, organizations in the community that sell those things. They're not really legal.
Well,
But
gambling
I've
is-
not heard of those being prosecuted, you know.
No, they typically are not. Yeah.
Okay, anyone else want to make comment on this particular topic? If not, it's 7:15, I think we're safe as long as it's in front of us. We can close this, so I would seek a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, do we have a second on that?
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion?
Yeah, I just want to make sure we're going to add after D and agricultural products and produce and get rid of the last sentence on E.
That's my expectation. The other thing I think we should add, Jim, under number 8, I just saw it in my notes, the title of number 8 is exception to license requirements. This should really be exception to license fee requirements. There may be times that we still want someone to get a license to operate, there's just no fee. And by getting a license, we're sure they have insurance, we're sure that they're operating in a safe manner for themselves and the general public. So the exception is to the fee, not to truly getting a license to operate. We
So
keep
those
that
are
door open.
The
to
3
them.
changes then.
1, 2, 3.
What's this?
Bernie, does that mean you have to have another public hearing if you change or not?
We're going to
We
anyway.
have to
Oh,
anyway.
you are, okay.
Just be on state ground.
I think the answer to your question is no, but we are
I
anyway.
think
Okay, anyone have any other comments on this?
Just one. It's supposed to be 2
I
files.
think so. I'll
Not
take a look.
the only.
Pardon me? I'll have to
It doesn't read right to me.
I'll take a look.
Where are you at?
It's section,
Top of 4, section 304. Second line, well, read the whole thing, but the second line, substance, where it says substance, submittal, failing.
I'll take a look at that, Tom.
Okay?
Yep.
All right. Any other discussion before we roll call on closing the public hearing? A roll call to close this hearing.
Comments, what?
I gotta see if there's any more notes. Oh, that's all. Yes.
Okay, Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Rendon.
Yes.
Bernie Bass.
Yes, the hearing is closed at 7:16. Resolution 204, Parks and Recreation Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Melanie Defiant, Recreation and Youth Director for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Cashman, second.
Second.
Mr. Rennerdeck, any discussion?
I do want to note, one of the items in Mel's report relates to a meeting that we had at the Katyville Park with the Center for Earth and Environmental Science. That town city relationship is developing, and more will be coming to us in a work session shortly. I'm really excited about the prospect of what we can do out there, so.
Good. I'm glad you mentioned it. I want to mention, point out to everyone, I hope you saw the list of sign-ins for disc golf. I mean, the fact there were 67 people who signed in and played in January out there is amazing. But in the month of May, it came up, well, there were 994 sign-ins. And you know, a lot of people just went and played and didn't sign in. Had over 1,000 people out there playing disc golf. Absolutely amazing. We talk about a facility that's you know, used and brings some value to the community. And, you know, on their way up through, they probably stopped at one of our fine little eateries on Route 3 and then had an ice cream cone after. It's good for the economy.
Was up there this afternoon, and what I was struck with was there were a group of people there, and they had their own discs.
Oh, yeah.
They did not, they didn't have our town equipment, they had their own discs. Of course, America being America, the marketing people are out there.
At the risk of sounding like I'm doing a plug, you maybe weren't aware, you can buy your own disc at Katyville Golf now. They're the official sanctioned disc.
Oh, I didn't know
There's a vendor
that.
that's gone in, he has
I
a
didn't
rack.
realize
Katyville
that they
Golf
sold
Bar.
them at Katyville Golf.
They don't give them away.
Yeah.
So, it's interesting. Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Render.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 205, Planning Department Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Phil Von Bargen, Planning and Engineering Department Head for the month of June 2014.
Have a motion. Mr. Wood, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Render.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 206, Supervisors Monthly Financial Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file the supervisor's financial report for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Rennerdeck, second.
Second.
Mr. Mannix, any discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Render.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 207, Town Clerk's Monthly Report.
Resolved to receive and place on file a report from Rick Collins, Town Clerk, for the month of May 2014.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second. Mr. Wood, any discussion? Any comments on it, Rick?
No, I didn't see there's a few things that are up in the increase on there.
Rick, I wanted to share publicly here, Mel in the rec department gave you some kudos during a recent committee meeting, saying that she was appreciative of the clerk's office managing some of those fees for the rec program, so.
Any other discussion?
Shared services.
Yep.
Sharing begins at home. Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Render.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution number 208, contract number 1, Route 9 Pump Station Generator, periodic estimate payment number 2.
Whereas Resolution 13355, the town of Plattsburgh previously awarded Mountain Lake Electrical Incorporated the bid to provide a generator for Route 9 North Pump Station. Whereas LaBerge Engineering and Consulting Group and Scott Stoddard, Director of the Water and Wastewater Department, have reviewed the periodic estimate for payment number 2 as indicated. Therefore be resolved, supervisors hereby authorized to make said payment in the amount of $37,667.50 minus amount held for retainage for periodic estimate number 2 dated May 18, 2014, payable to Mountain Lake Electrical Incorporated, 102 Trade Road, Plattsburgh, New York, 12901. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution and executed periodic estimate number 2 be given to the finance manager, the Burge Engineering Consulting Group, Mountain Lake Electrical Incorporated, and the director of the Water and Wastewater Department.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion?
Yes, I'd be delighted if someone could tell me what the amount of money is that's gonna get paid under this payment.
$37,667, which is what the voucher is as well.
Then I'd ask you to read the first resolve. Resolve that the supervisor is hereby authorized to make payment in the amount of $37,667.50, minus the amount held for retainage for periodic estimate number 2, dated May 8, 2014, payable to Mountain Lake Electrical.
The retainage is not included in that amount. That's actually not clear wording. I totally understand what you're saying.
That was what I had, because I went through this and went through it, I could not fathom what the amount was that was being paid.
One of the things we've historically done is make note that there's retainage all the way through until the end of this.
Yeah.
But this implies it's going to be the 37,000 plus minus retainage. It says that. The total amount to be paid is 37, and retainage is still held back with that payment. It's not a final payment. So we will work on rewording that if that works for this one.
I would like for us to see a properly worded resolution.
Well, the gross amount is 42,450, less the retainage would bring us down. So if we put the gross amount of 42,450 in, less retainage, would be a balance of 37,667.
And I could see that in the letter,
Yep.
okay? But then there's no reference to those amounts within the resolution. And I think if they had followed the letter, they could have fairly readily, worded the resolution.
Okay.
I will vote for the resolution if the resolution follows the text of the letter.
So the first resolve, we can amend to read that the supervisor hereby authorized to make payment in the amount of $42,450 plus 5% retainage for a balance of $37,667 to be paid for periodic estimate.
It's less the amount, the 5% retained, in addition to less previous payments of $26.60, resulting in $37.60.
How about if we take that second paragraph, which is really the second sentence, in the letter, and we'll incorporate that in its entirety in the first resolve.
That'll do it. Very well.
That's what we will do.
Okay, all right. Then I think you
That
have a
clarifies.
resolution that the controller's office will be a lot happier with.
We make a note to that effect. We'll bring in that second paragraph from the letter.
Okay.
And be more sensitive to how these come through in the
And
future.
I'm sorry, I meant to bring that up in an earlier discussion and just missed it. And it was only when we were sitting here going through
Yeah.
our papers that I came across where I made that note.
As amended, Tom, you made the motion. Are you
Yes.
okay with that, George?
No problem.
Okay. Any other discussion? Then roll call vote on resolution 208
I would
as
just say
amended.
resolved according to that, right?
You should take that paragraph out of the letter and use that
We're
as,
going to use that right into that
as a
result.
draw.
As the result,
Result,
correct?
yeah.
Well,
That's-
it
that's
won't
what-
be identical, but that will
Well,
be
it'll have the
incorporated in
same
language.
language.
So the numbers come out the same at the end.
Okay, that's fine.
Thomas Wood?
As amended, yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman,
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 209, planning board recommendation to the town board.
Resolved to receive and place on file a recommendation from the planning board chairman, Robert Pearl, concerning the zoning ordinance and map amendments.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second. Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Have we changed the part 3
Yes, we did.
of thing, taking out the word not?
As per your key note, it was needed to be cleaned up.
Okay,
And we have.
then it does recommend that we approve it.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cashman.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 210, zoning ordinance and map amendment.
Whereas the town board, in accordance with Article 17 of the town zoning ordinance, has identified several omissions, inadvertently mapping areas, and other items of clarification that did amendments to the current zoning ordinance and map. Whereas the town board duly called for a public hearing for consideration of the aforementioned amendment and gave duly notice before as required by law. Whereas the public hearing was held by the town board at the Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on the 19th day of May, 2014, at 7:05 p.m. for said, at the time of a proposed zoning amendment, zoning ordinance amendment, proposed seeker material was also available. Whereas the town clerk in each adjoining town was provided a copy of the proposed zoning map ordinance amendments, and no comments were received from adjacent townships prior to, during, or following the public hearing. Whereas in accordance with New York State General Municipal Law, Section 239M, the town board did refer to provide a copy of the proposed zoning map and ordinance amendments to the Clinton County Planning Board, and said board on May 7, 2014, by a vote of 8-0, voted to approve the referral number 31-14. Whereas in accordance with the town zoning ordinance Article 17, the town board did refer and provide a copy of the proposed zoning map and ordinance amendments to the town planning board, and said board on May 20th, 2014, by a vote of 6-0, voted resolution 1433 and the affirmation to recommend the town board approve said amendment. Whereas Part 617 of the Environmental Conservation Law provides for an involved agency to review any action for the purpose of determining the effect of said action on the environment. And whereas a determination of the effect of said action on the environment will be necessary to determine whether a draft environmental impact statement is required. Whereas the town board is considered an involved agency in accordance with state law for the purpose of assessing the effects of the zoning ordinance and map amendments on the environment, and whether or not said effect is significant enough to warrant preparation of a draft environmental impact statement. Whereas the town board has previously declared the zoning ordinance and map amendments to be a type 1 action and considered its review pursuant to the State Environmental Quality Review Act. Whereas no other involved agency to cause or a coordinated review to be conducted. Whereas the town board has identified the relevant areas of environmental concern and has taken a hard look at these areas and has made reasonable elaborations based on a determination. Whereas it is in the opinion of the members of the town board, it is in the best interest of the town to serve by the adoption of said amendment. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, in consideration of comments made at the public hearing on the zoning ordinance and map amendment, a review of Part 1 and the completion of Part 2 and 3 of the EAF long form, and review of related materials according to issues of negative declaration under the seeker, for the proposed zoning ordinance and map amendments, determining that said amendments will not have a significant effect on the environment, and a preparation of DEIS is not required. And said declaration is hereby referenced and incorporated herein and shown in Exhibit A. And it be further resolved that the town board does hereby authorize and direct the supervisor to complete and have it prepared and executed notice of no significant environmental impact negative declaration for these zoning ordinance and map amendments. And it be further resolved that a notice of no significant environmental impact negative declaration and all related materials shall be maintained on a file in the office of the town board and made available for the public to inspection. And the reasons for this decision are stated in the attached negative declaration. And it be further resolved that the zoning act, ordinance, and maps of the town of Plattsburgh be amended as follows. You want me to read all of the?
As indicated.
And resolved that said amendments be entered into the minutes of the meeting of the town board and held on the 16th day of June 2014. And to be further resolved in accordance with section 264 and 265 of the town law, a copy of summary abstract of the amendments exclusive of any map shall be published in the Press of Public in the newspaper published in the town of Plattsburgh, and affidavits of publication thereof shall be lettered and filed with the town clerk. And it be further resolved that the amendment shall be effective as provided by and in accordance with section 265 of the town law. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the town clerk, zoning department, and planning department.
A motion.
So moved.
Mr. Mannix, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Just one quick change in whereas on the first page. It's just a wording thing. It's just whereas should read whereas each adjoining town is provided a copy of the proposed zoning map and ordinance amendment by the town clerk. All you're doing is changing where it says whereas, comma, the town clerk. Just take that out, put it after amendment. Make it clear.
Anybody have any concerns with that?
Tom, could you read that the way you want it to appear?
Whereas each adjoining town was provided a copy of the proposed zoning map and ordinance amendment by the town clerk, and no comments were received from the adjacent township prior to, during, or following the public hearing. And
Each adjoining town was provided a copy of the map and ordinance amendment
by the town clerk,
by the town.
and no comments were received. Just reads clear.
Didn't pick that up at all.
Well, I didn't until this reading, so
That happens
No
sometimes, yeah, when you read.
this is the first time.
Okay, any other discussion? And Marty, you made the motion, is that okay with you?
Yes.
And if there are no other discussions, let's have a roll call vote as amended.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Renadette.
Yes.
And Bernie Dorchenez.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 211, zoning ordinance fee schedule for 2014.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh, November 12th zoning ordinance as amended provides for articles 12, 13, 14, 16, and 17, that fees to be changed shall be set forth by the town board from time to time, may be amended after a public hearing thereon to hear at least 10 days after publication of said notice of time and place of such respective hearing. And whereas the town of Plattsburgh has duly adopted subdivision regulations for the development of land within the town of Plattsburgh, which regulations have been amended from time to time by the town board resolution. Whereas the planning department has proposed changes to the fee schedule in the past and is necessary to review and update them again. Whereas the town board duly called for a public hearing for consideration of the aforementioned fee schedule update and gave duly notice, therefore as required by law. And whereas that public hearing was held of the town board at the town hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on the 19th day of May 2014 at 7:05 PM on said date, at which time the proposed fee schedule change was made available. Now therefore be resolved that the town board, town of Plattsburgh, after review and discussion of the proposed changes of the fee schedule, authorization of Article 12, 13.
Rick, let me just intervene right here. It's the same as earlier. These are Articles 7, 8, 9, 16, and 17.
Of the town of Plattsburgh subdivision regulations, Article 9, does hereby receive and place on file the proposed changes, which changes are set forth in the attached fee schedule of 2014. And it be further resolved that the town of Plattsburgh Town Board, after review and discussion of said proposed changes in fee schedule, does hereby adopt the attached amendment fee schedule dated March 2014. And be further resolved, this resolution shall be effective immediately. And be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and a copy attached to the Code and Zoning Department website.
Have a motion.
For purposes of discussion, I'll motion it.
Mr. Cashman, second.
For purposes of discussion, I'll second.
Mr. Mannix, I suspect we're going to have some discussion.
Yes.
I'd like to start.
I will yield to you.
As I brought to your attention earlier, and again, I apologize publicly for not bringing it up earlier. I did have some conversations with other, what I will deem smaller developers in the town of Plattsburgh. They're developers who have had their hands in some smaller developments, but developments nonetheless in the town of Plattsburgh. I asked them if they knew what was going on, and they said no. I brought it to their attention that the fees were increasing, and to the extent that they were increasing, and asked if they thought there would be any increase or significant impact to their businesses. To a person, they said yes. I'm not going to try to mislead the public. It was two developers. I asked if I could use their names. They said not for public, but I did let you know who I talked to. Personally, and this is what I relate to them, I think that this schedule, it's necessary to be achieved. I don't think that it's necessary that we achieve it all in one lump sum. I told them that my support would go on to a 5-year plan, that these increases would be stretched out over 5 years in equal increments. In talking with Mr. Cashman, he enlightened me to the fact that with inflation and the cost of increase to the department, 5 years is going to put us behind the 8 ball again if we don't take a look at it and revise it again somewhere along the line. So I was willing to yield to the fact that in the 3rd year, we would revise our plan and probably increase what would be an increase for the final 2 years. I know that this is not, it's not what the town board would like to see, but I think that this is something that the developers have gotten used to in the town of Plattsburgh. And I'm not talking about the Marriott Group or any of the larger developers, the Benderson groups. They can afford and they can equally pass along any increases along a much larger scale as are some of our smaller developers would be able to. Their costs are a little bit closer to the bone, so these increases will cut into their profit, and nobody likes their profit being cut into because it's basically taking a cut and pay. So, based on all of that, bottom line is I can't agree with the increases unless they would be stretched over nothing less than a 5-year plan.
I understand Jerry's position, but I also believe that the situation needs to be remedied. We need to get these fees structured at a level that they should be at. It is a situation that should have been addressed over a number of years. It wasn't. We need to correct that. I would be in favor of our adopting the fee schedules in here with 1/2 of the fee increases going into effect as of July 1st, and the second half of the increases going into effect as of January 1st. For the most part, that will push the second increase into 2015. Basically, developmental, will take place in the spring of 2015.
I'm personally happy to have had the conversation with Jerry about the need to stretch it over the 5-year mark. I felt was a little too long, but I do feel as though stretching it out a little bit will help us. But I think it really comes down to the conversation that we need to examine how inflation is impacting the budget, zero-based budgeting, etc. I think we need to look at that wholesale as we move into our budget season. But the other part to it is as we go into the second year of implementing this, I think we need to be very attuned to it and be prepared to make further changes with other things. But I could compromise with a 2-year.
I believe that what we're doing is just changing the function. If you don't have the fees, if you don't charge them, if you don't pay for it with that, the developers, then what ends up is being in the taxpayers, comes out of the taxpayers' pocket because they're the ones that are paying for our departments anyway. The departments have to have money to run. We have to have salaries. We have to have that. The big criticism that's been against us is the general fund. Yes, it has to come out of the general fund. We do have to have those departments, but some of the costs ought to be borne by the developers. And this is what would do that, and that's why I argue that we should have these fees and we should be doing it. But I will accept the compromise of doing the half now and half January.
Well, I think in a year from now, if we see a huge change, then we have an opportunity to go back to it, in a fairly quickly matter. So.
And I guess, I can live with the 2-year. I think we all agree something needs to be done. And as Tom said, the services are going to be paid for, if not by the people who use them, then they're going to be paid for by the people who don't use them, which doesn't make any sense to me. And it's unfortunate it does cut into the bottom line, but if nothing cut into the bottom line, it seems like the bottom line goes up every year anyway. These are services that are required, and some of them, up to this point, have been absolutely free, and we just can't continue that. And the other item, just for the record, these are graduated. So the size of the project, based upon either acreage or square foot of the construction, does determine the cost for the service that, again, otherwise is never free. It would be free to the user and then picked up somewhere else along the line. So I think it's a good move. And the other thing I'd like to note is the department spent an extraordinary amount of time researching this, way too much time. But nonetheless, they did spend many months and found comparable communities that could be compared to the town. And we really discovered if we use some of the projects that have been put through the town of Plattsburgh at the fee rates that these other municipalities had, we were about in the middle. I mean, it's a number of items, and some were higher, some were lower, but we certainly weren't the highest, and we certainly weren't the lowest. So I think they did their job well, and I will agree with Gerard that it's an adjustment. I think by doing it in the manner proposed by, I believe, Mr. Mannix, that we would start with July 1 on take everything proposed as a change, if it was an increase or if it was a new fee. It would be implemented by 1/2 of the proposal on July 1 and the second half by January 1. And that really would hold harmless anyone who's got a project going right now, and give them some time to move on that, as well as any projects for next spring. Plenty of time to be aware of this. I suspect, though, that most projects, they're going to come in, they're going to pay the fee, and they may not have even known what it would have been or might have been otherwise. It's just the cost of doing business, which in many, if not all cases, also is a tax deduction to business. So anyway, that's my thought, and I could also live with. Now, no one has made the recommendation that we amend as suggested to implement this by 1/2 as of July 1, and the second half of this particular fee structure done January 1. Mr. Mannix, is that what you would like to
That's what I
recommend?
said.
And I would second.
I didn't catch
That
as a
would be the second.
recommendation, I thought we were still in discussions.
That would be the second to the last result if you did that.
We would add that to the
Resolution be
last
effective
result.
I
July
said-
1st in the second half.
I thought quite specifically that 1/2 of the increase would go into effect as of July 1st, and the second half of the increase would go into effect as of January 1st, 2015.
Okay, that's,
And I think the title of the ordinance itself should be retitled to be 2014-2015.
that's a good idea.
I didn't say that, but.
As amended with the change in the title, a fee schedule 2014-15, and noting as indicated 50% of the recommendation being done July 1 of the second.
Yeah, and I'm not, just make it real clear, I'm not advocating that 1/2 of the schedule go into effect. I'm
Half of each fee,
1/2 of the increase,
Increase.
each fee as noted. Yep,
of the increase,
correct.
not the fee. Okay.
Right, because you just split.
Correct.
split-
Yes,
you
yes.
split
I will note that accordingly.
And I would second that motion.
Yeah.
Okay, we've amended the resolution. Mike, you said you second that, so you support it. Obviously, Marty does. It's his recommendation. Is there any other discussion?
Is that going to cover it with this?
As,
Just,
any other discussion?
Well, Tom is having a concern, maybe you can,
if, for some, we're instituting a fee that we haven't had before,
Correct.
and we're saying we're going to increase the fee. I assume that comes under that we
Correct.
increase the fee to a certain amount, but then it's half of what the total amount was.
Right.
Because the resolution was we increase 1/2 now and 1/2 later, well, when it was 0. We have we have an amount that we said we were going to increase
It's
it.
based on this recommendation, 1/2 of each of the cost, each fee in July 1, and that's second half of each fee, not the increase, the total cost.
Yeah.
So if it was proposed to go from 0 to 500, it would be 250 July 1, and then it would go up to 500 on January 1.
Okay, that's not what's going to happen. Currently, we'll have a fee that may be at $100, and that fee is going to go up, in theory, to $200.
Okay?
What I'm saying is, no, the fee will go to
That's what I'm
$150,
saying.
and then in January, it would go to the
Correct.
$200.
I think both of you agree, maybe sometimes.
We agree, but we're not expressing it.
No, that's true.
Correct.
I
That's
think-
why I keep saying it's 1/2 of the increase. Now, what Tom was pointing out was, if there's a new fee being implemented, you know, are you saying that it's only gonna be half the fee?
For example, let's be specific. Number 1,
For the purpose of discussion, I have it broken down over a 5-year plan.
that's okay.
Thanks, Jerry.
Under number.
You did all your homework.
Under number 1, we have 100,000 square foot of gross floor area that would go from previously 0 to 500. July 1, that would be 250. January 1 would be 500.
Correct.
That's the understanding, but the wording,
Well, we will
I'm
make the
concerned about the
wording work.
wording of the result.
We will make
I
the wording work.
think, yeah, but everybody, I think, understands.
We all understand what we're talking about, but when you put something down here, we vote on it.
I know.
It has to be,
Oh, okay, but let me give one more example, because I'm going to write it after. Let's go to section 7.5, it's the other unique one. Up to 1 acre of land use, activity, or 0 to 4,999 square feet.
Do we have a little quiet in the room, please?
We're going to 150.
Of
So I can
gross-
hear.
Of gross floor area. That is recommended to go to 200. So instead, that would
Is that
go...
at 0?
No.
No, that's at 100 now.
Okay, thank you.
That's recommended to go to 200, so we go to 150, half of that increase, and then 200, the full increase in January.
In January.
Yep.
Correct.
And I assume
That's what proposed.
we didn't cut any amount, reduce any fees?
Correct.
Okay.
All fees are increased by half of the
It's called
recommendation.
the Jim Coffee event.
no, that would apply to just the fees. Does not apply if we change the acreage for any particular.
All we're going to do is take the fees as recommended and we'll implement that final fee, increase of the fee, not the total fee, and that's where you were going, it makes a lot of sense. The increase will be 50% in July, and the second half of the increase will be in January. So by January 1, it's as documented,
Proposed.
as proposed. So we have a step to enable some opportunity to, transition. Any other discussion? Roll call as amended.
Thomas Wood.
I agree, but I want the wording to be proper, and I don't know if we vote on this, if it's gonna be.
You understand?
Well, no, before you go any farther, Tom asked me a question to clarify.
How will next to the last resolve be written?
I haven't written it yet, but it'll be written to read that the resolution becomes effective July 1st with an increase of 50% of the recommended change, and on January 1, 2015, the second half, bringing the fees to the full amount as indicated by the attachment.
Okay. That's good.
Any other, Tom, I'm sorry, it was your vote.
What's that?
Your vote.
Oh, yes.
Okay. Mark Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Cash.
Yes.
Gerard Rindberg.
No.
Bernie Bassett.
Yes, resolution carries as amended. I will get that change language to each of you. Resolution 212, request to attend wastewater treatment certification conference.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh water, wastewater personnel are required to maintain professional training and development. Whereas it is in the best interest of the town water, wastewater department to update technical knowledge and new regulation information regarding water, wastewater treatment facilities. Now therefore be resolved that Michael Stonier of the Water Wastewater Department be allowed to attend the Water Wastewater Conference to be held October 20th through the 24th, 2014 at Morrisville State College, Morrisville, New York. And it be further resolved that $498 for lodging and meals and $525 for registration be charged to the Water Wastewater Department budget account number. And it be further resolved that copies of this resolution be given to the finance manager, water and wastewater director, one foot, and the personnel file of Michael Stonier.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renedick, second.
Second, but
Mr. Cashman.
can we make a correction in his name? I know it seems small, but it's not with an H, it's a K. In the first result.
Have you got it right in the final result?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I'll call that a discussion, and as long as we're discussing, I'd also like to add, it's small but it's significant. The second whereas, the second line, we note information regarding water, wastewater treatment facilities. I really would like that to be amended to read water and wastewater treatment facilities. Part of what's going on here is to get someone who's in a position to manage water treatment facilities and wastewater treatment facilities. They're two different kinds of facilities. So there should be an and between water and wastewater.
It's the same problem in the first resolve. It's not a water wastewater conference, it should be a water and wastewater.
Well,
Joe? It is,
wastewater treatment registration.
I don't have the documentation on the workshop sufficient to say it is or it isn't, so I don't know. I don't think it significantly changes it.
Okay.
Any other discussion?
Yes, I assume that this same thing on this particular one that we saw on the one that we approved earlier, there's two.
That's how they register. It's up to two people. The fee's the same if there's one or two, but he is going alone, and there's no lower rate. That's their flat rate.
Or did you get confirmation of that on the previous, because we could question it?
I do find it quite odd that it's more expensive going in October than in June. When you look at the hotel rate and the rates for meals and stuff, they go up. This registration goes up, the registration goes up, the meals go up, and that, everything
Sort of
goes.
along the conversation we had a little bit ago about fees, doesn't it?
Colleges in
They just don't go
session,
down.
colleges in session in October, it's not in session in June.
Leaf peeping season,
Family weekends, orientations,
supply and demand.
Oh, you would know that, yes, that's right, okay.
most homecomings are in October.
Especially a small town, try and get a room.
It's not, no, they don't celebrate Columbus Day. do you?
Any other discussion? As amended, roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Kent,
Yes.
George Renza,
Yes.
Bernie Dodd.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 213, authorizing the highway superintendent to start the 2014 paving program.
Whereas the town of Plattsburgh has appropriated a total of $380,000 in the 2014 highway budget for the 2014 road paving program. Whereas James Wood, Highway Superintendent, and the Highway Committee have submitted a 2014 highway road paving program, identified the town roads that are in the greatest need of repair, with an estimated total of $366,597.60. Whereas funding for the 2014 road paving repair and improvement program is to be taken from DA 5110-4200 and DA 5112-4200 and CHIPS account DA 5112-200 or -2000. Therefore be resolved that the town board does hereby authorize the highway superintendent to spend appropriated funds to implement the aforementioned 2014 road paving program, with paving to take place on the roads as recommended by the highway superintendent and the highway committee. And it be further resolved that a copy of this resolution be given to the finance manager and highway superintendent.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Woods, second.
Second.
Mr. Renner, any discussion?
Yeah, I'd like to point out that the asphalt pricing went up 23% this year, the cost of it, so he isn't doing as many roads as would normally.
I'm glad you mentioned that, Tommy, and this is one that really is frustrating. How much, I don't know that for a fact, I'll assume you're right, it went up 23%.
Well,
scares me to think what it
the
went up
figures that
last
I got
year.
from the price from last year and this
Yep.
year went up 23%.
And what did it go up the year before that, and the year before that? And we certainly don't have fewer roads, and everybody wants their roads paved if you're a homeowner or, you know, someone driving a motorcycle down the road, a business owner, and the revenue just doesn't come in. It's been flatlined, and
But when we talk about, and unfortunately, I hate to say this, but when we talk about these highway tax and we talk about these increases and things like this is the cost.
We have a 2%, we have a 2% cap and, you know, here's a highway faced with a 20% increase in one of its major expenses.
yeah, how are you supposed to do that? And it was extremely difficult with a cap on something that you didn't have either, and then we instituted a very meager highway tax, and 2% of that doesn't amount to a hill of beans. It's very frustrating, and I certainly, and as Gerard did, you know, we certainly feel every time you ask someone to contribute to the cost, and you've got to maintain your infrastructure. It's very frustrating. Our guys do a phenomenal job, and they've come up with a variety of ways of maintaining roads without doing the paving they'd like to, but frustrating. I'm sorry, any other comments? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Mannix,
Yes.
Michael Kent.
Yes.
George Renza,
Yes.
Bernie Dodd.
Yes, resolution carries. Resolution 214, resolution to set a public hearing on local law number 2 in relation to peddling, soliciting, and transit retail merchants.
Whereas Supervisor Bassett has introduced proposed local law number 2 of the year 2014 entitled Peddling, Soliciting, and Transit Retail Merchants. And whereas proposed local law number 2 of 2014 would provide the town of Plattsburgh policy to assist in management of its business, preservation of goods ordered, and the peace, healthy, and safety, welfare of its inhabitants, and the protection and security of its property in relation to peddling, soliciting, and transit retail merchants within the town of Plattsburgh. Whereas pursuant to Part 617 of the implementing regulations in Article 8 of State Quality Environmental Review Act, the Town Board, Town of Plattsburgh, as lead agency in matters shall determine whether the adoption of proposed local law shall have a significant effect upon the environment. And whereas due consideration has been given to the adoption of proposed local law number 2 of 2014 by all members of the town board. Whereas it is considered a second public hearing should be held on the 7th day of July 2014 at 7:05 p.m. at the Plattsburgh Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, to consider the adoption of proposed local law number 2 of 2014. Now, on a motion duly made and seconded, it is resolved that a public hearing shall be held on the 7th day of July 2014 at 7:05 p.m. at the Plattsburgh Town Hall, 151 Baker Road, Plattsburgh, New York, on the question of the enactment of proposed local law number 2 of 2014. And to be further resolved, notice of public hearing of proposed local law number 2 of 2014 shall be published in the town's official newspaper, the Press Republican, not less than 5 days prior to the hearing. And to be further resolved that the town clerk shall post a notice on the bulletin board maintained by the town clerk pursuant to town law 30, section 6 of the town of Plattsburgh website for a period of not less than 5 days prior to the public hearing, and that a copy of this resolution shall be given to the finance manager and to the town clerk.
Have a motion.
So moved.
Mr. Renadette, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any discussion?
Just a question, Ricky, on the second resolve, the reference, does your documents say local law number 2? Because mine says local law 21.
He read it as 2.
Pardon?
He did read it as 2.
Okay,
Mine says 2.
Just want to make sure.
just wanted to be
Printed
correct.
correct.
Any other discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manning, Michael Cashman,
Yes.
Rod Renfro.
Yes.
Brian Johnson.
Yes, resolution carries. Brings us to the end of the scheduled agenda. If anyone has anything else?
Yeah, I'd like to invite people to come on June 28th, Saturday, at 10 o'clock in the morning for dedication, road dedication, and the Cateville Park dedication. We wanted as many people as can to come, especially if you haven't been there. It would be great if you could come and see what a beautiful area it is and the many activities that you can do there. We will be dedicating the road to the Cateville Park as Amel Way. Bernard Amel has contributed a lot to the town of Plattsburgh, and we want to recognize that with the road dedication.
Thank you, Tom. And if we could get a motion to adjourn.
Can I?
Yes, sir.
I'll just add one more comment to that. In addition to the dedications that will be going on that day, there will also be the 5th annual Run for Rosie taking place that day at 9 o'clock in the morning, and that's a major fundraiser for the Stop Domestic Violence program in Clinton County. So it's a great family occasion to be there. It's a great venue for people to be at, and people will have a chance to celebrate the dedication of that park. It's now officially in the hands of the citizens of the town of Plattsburgh.
Very good, thank you. Anything else? Then we'll entertain the motion.
So moved.
Mr. Randall, second.
Second.
Mr. Wood, any further discussion? Roll call.
Thomas Wood,
Yes.
Martin Manick,
Yes.
Michael Cassidy.
Yes.
George Ennis.
Yes.
Aaron Bass.
Yes, we will stand adjourned at 8:05 PM.